and my colleague Soraya, or Soraya, raise your hand, will come to you with a microphone. We do need you to speak into the microphone so that our audience at home that's watching on YouTube or on the city channel can hear you clearly and can hear the question. After the initial remarks from the mayor and any questions you have here, there will be a tour of the facility, and we will go from there. So thank you very much for being here. It is my pleasure to introduce Mayor Oscar Leeser.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here. It's, we've been working for May 11th, May 12th, basically. May 11th at 11:59 Eastern Time, which is 9:59 El Paso time. But we've been working towards that day, and when I went down to Juarez today, and I toured Juarez earlier this morning. I toured it last week to kind of see, because I've been talking a lot about what do we prepare for? And I keep talking about the unknown. And we are preparing for the unknown because we don't know who's coming, whether it's families, whether it's single adults. So we've been preparing. And I was, when I went over to Juarez, there was a lot less people this week than there was last week. And I think that was something that's really important to talk about as we toured in front of the mayor's office, where there's a lot of tents there, but there weren't a lot of people inside the tents. We went along the highway, and the numbers are way down. I did get numbers that I think will be somewhere between 5 to 8 to maybe 10,000 that are prepared to come. And this is what we've been preparing for. I went down to Sacred Heart yesterday. After that, when I came back across, and I noticed that a lot of our asylum seekers had started registering to be able to go through the immigration process. It's really important to see that what we've been doing, and we've been doing this as a team. There's not one person that I could really say really did it all, but as a team we've been able to accomplish a lot of the things you see today. And you'll be able to see we have both schools prepared to open, and we're going to open them, but we're not going to open them unless we have the asylum seekers and the people necessary to come in here. I can tell you that our goal is to make sure that they're here between 24 to 72 hours. This is only temporary sheltering, and it's to make sure that we help them go to their next destination. I think there's people want to know, why are you helping them? Why are you helping them go? Because once they get their A number, once an asylum seeker gets their A number, then they're free to go into wherever they want to go, and we want to make sure we help them. We need to decompress the system. We can't, if we were to get 10,000 a day, which has been the number that's been thrown around, at the end of the month we'd have 300,000 people. So we really need to make sure that we work with the federal government and move and do decompression of the system. I'm very thankful to Secretary Mayorkas and FEMA for all the assistance they've given us. They've actually given us upfront money to be able to do this. They've given us assistance through the Red Cross. And now this is not on the back of the local taxpayers, but it's through FEMA and national funding. And it's important to realize that when asylum seekers are coming, they're not coming to El Paso, Texas. They're coming to the United States. And they're here, and it's our job to make sure that we help them get there. But also, it's really important that the citizens of El Paso know that our priority is El Paso. It's our citizens to make sure that we continue to keep not only our visitors, but also our community safe. And that's something that we've been doing. Again, I do want to thank Secretary Mayorkas, because he's done an incredible job of listening and helping us and working with us. And I can tell you that without the federal government, we couldn't do it. But saying that, we all know that the immigration process is broken and it needs to be fixed. There is no end game. In a community like El Paso or anywhere in the Rio Grande Valley, we cannot continue for infinity. This is not a number that's a good number for us. So we really need to see that the federal government needs to agree to disagree, but also come to some type of conclusion and some kind of federal government and something that would really help us continue to move forward. Because, again, We have an incredible community. The community has been gracious, and they've really stepped up to help us work and help our asylum seekers. But it's, like I said, this cannot be forever, and there has to be an end game. I had someone ask me the other day, and they said, you know, Mayor, what keeps you up at nights? And I told him, I said, let me tell you something. He said, the lack of light. He said, really? The lack of light keeps you up at nights? I said, absolutely, because I can't see a light at the end of the tunnel. And that's something that's really important, that we really need to, as a community and as a country, be able to see what's going on. And until, again, our federal government starts agreeing to disagree and come up with some type of federal agreement, some kind of law that's going to help communities like El Paso and all the way up the southern border, it's going to be a tough go every day. And we still need to continue to prepare for the unknown. You've seen the numbers decline. We've seen the numbers are down, but we don't know what's coming in the next day. We don't know what's coming in the next 10 days. We know that they'll continue to come, and we'll continue to make sure that we help them. One thing, the border is closed today, and the border will be closed tomorrow after Title 42 is lifted. And we'll continue to follow all the laws of the federal law and all the laws, immigration laws, and the laws of the United States. That's something that's important. Our police department is out to make sure they enforce the laws of the city of El Paso, but they're not here to enforce any federal laws. They're here to assist and make sure that the place stays secure. And again, we are prepared, and I couldn't be more thankful to everyone that's standing to my right, you know, and Chief D'Agostino, Chief Rodriguez, Mr. Gonzalez, and Estrella that drives me around in Juarez every time we need to go over there, and Enrique. And if I had a room lined this way, these are the people, the county, the city, CBP, Customs, ICE. We're all working together. We're all one team. And when I talked to them, I had a conversation with a lot of them today, and they said there's not another community that they can talk about that really works together to be able to achieve what we've achieved, because we see films, and we've seen a lot of films, and what we see here today is that because we started working on this long before May 11th. And so I do want to open it up to any questions, but I do want to thank you all for being here, and happy Mother's Day to everybody around. Feliz Día de las Madres. Yes, sir. You want to come up, Chief?
And we may be past that initial surge. Is there anything that you can tell us that might back that up, or what is your sense on if the worst is over?
Well, we can't say the worst is over, but we know what we see out there today in the streets. We know what we see in Juarez, and we know what we see out, but we know that it's still not over with. We know that it's going to continue to add up, and we'll continue to see the numbers add. So we'll need to continue to be proactive, and that's what we've seen here. We're opening up the school, and we'll continue to staff it as we need. I know that we are sharing the duties here with the Red Cross. The Red Cross is very instrumental, and they've been here for about 2 weeks now to help us with the NGOs, with the dioceses, and make sure they support and do staffing, food, clothing. And then the other part is going to be the border network from Las Cruces that will use the other part of the building. So again, that's the teamwork that you see that I've been told that you don't see in a lot of places, and that's what we're really proud of what we've done. But we're not patting ourselves in the back, because we know that things can change before the sun rises tomorrow. We know that. So.
Carolina, my name, from DW, Deutsche Welle, Germany's international broadcaster. So I was wondering, the church, Sacred Heart, is quite empty now. Can you tell us where the refugees who were there and the different shelters have been moved to, the first question? And the second one would be about the ICE agents that we were seeing yesterday in downtown El Paso. Are they going to be there still, and what's their function there?
Okay, well, we see the numbers are down.
Let me have you come close to the mic so they're not picking you up.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
I wanted to be close to the chief, but that's all right. But no, you know, you do see the numbers that are down. The numbers are down because Customs and Border Patrol and ICE and everybody teamed to help the asylum seekers register and move on and continue to move on. And we saw yesterday, we saw a line of them that were going through the immigration process, which is going through the legal process that needs to be done. And they'll, you know, and that's the federal government. You're asking questions about the federal government, and we see, and we work there, and we have our police department there again to back them up, but not to ever enforce immigration laws or federal laws. But they'll continue to help them move to their next destination, and we're opening them up. We're opening up these facilities and additional facilities, but they've gone to NGOs, they've gone to dioceses, and they also moved on because they've been waiting to move on to their, you know, with their friends, with their families, wherever they need to go. They've gotten on flights, they've gotten on buses, and they'll continue to do that because now they've gotten their A number, and now they're able to continue to proceed through the United States as waiting for their date, for their court dates that have been set for them.
Who is paying for the bus tickets or for the bus tickets or for the flights? Who is paying for that?
What was that?
The migrants.
Hmm?
The migrants. Who's
You know,
paying for it?
right now that a lot of them have their own money, and that's where, you know, we talk about the unknown. You know, they have their money and they pay for their flights, their play, but you know, but we're prepared to continue to help if needed through the federal government. But they have their money, they've been able to pay for their flights, they've been able to pay to go to the destinations or their sponsors, and a lot of them have sponsors they've been waiting to reunite with.
And the ICE agents, please, the question on the ICE agents.
Yeah, and that's something that I'm sure if you ask them, they're going to be here as needed. And they'll continue to be here as needed and continue to help us protect the borders. Because again, as we said, the borders were not open yesterday or today, and they won't be open tomorrow.
Hi, my name is Christy Klein from ARD Young Television.
Can you speak up, please? Can you
Oh,
speak up?
yeah. Yeah, Christy Klein from ARD Young Television. You said how grateful you are for the help of the federal government and that you're hoping for immigration reform, but that will take some time, obviously. Is there nothing you demand from the federal government in addition to help you as a border community right now?
So you asked for, you said you thank the federal government. She's asking now, is there anything you demand right now? What would you like to see happen?
Well, we need to continue to have the support, absolutely. And I've had the opportunity to talk to Secretary Mayorkas. I've talked to his team, and I probably talked to the White House 2-3 times because of what we see in our needs. And I'm very thankful because they have made sure that the borders are safe, and that they send enough troops to our area. And they've also sent funding. Right now, the city of El Paso has federal fundings to be able to do this, and that's important for local taxpayers. We couldn't afford to do this, and we wouldn't be able to do this unless, but again, we're doing the job for the federal government because the immigration process today is broken, and as a border city, we have responsibilities, and our responsibilities continue to work and help when asylum seekers do come into our country.
Good afternoon, Paula Ramon, AFP. I wanted to ask, like we saw yesterday, this massive processing operation at CBP, the numbers clearly increased. So I wanted to ask if you have like some updates about your expectations for the next days. How many people are you expecting to stay still in El Paso or coming to the borders? And also about transportation. A lot of them that are in fact paying for their own bus tickets. I wanted to ask how many buses or if there's any kind of transportation operation from El Paso to take the people that are not, they don't have money to pay the tickets, to take them to other local cities or their final destinies or.
Thank you. Mario D'Agostino with the City of El Paso, Deputy City Manager. Transportation, as we've talked about for several months now, transportation, housing, feeding, processing, welcoming through the community is how we're approaching. We do have transportation set up, but we have not activated transportation. As we talk about these facilities, we see that their capacities, we give you a range of 500 to 1,500. It depends on what we're seeing at the time. It depends on the population, whether they're single adults or family units. Transportation, when we provide transportation, it depends on if they're sponsored or unsponsored. The sponsored all have means to get on to where they're going. The unsponsors have some difficulties. We have not seen that as a community as a whole as being a large impact at this point in time, but we do know that a lot of the population that's passing through is going to hit that. So there might be a time when we do have to operationalize that, but like we said today, the school's ready, the transportation center's ready, the welcoming center's ready, everything's ready. We just don't have that demand yet. What we've seen on the streets of El Paso over the last few days, the last week, is a lot of unsponsored migrants that are passing through the community or waiting to get in line to what they did yesterday, and they went and they turned themselves in so they can get processed, so they can get that A number as the mayor talked about, and they can move on their travels. We haven't seen the throughput of that yet. So as those start coming out in the coming days, that'll determine what kind of transportation is needed. Our first and primary is to help those along who have a means. A lot of them might not be able to afford to go out of El Paso, or they might not be able to get a timely flight or bus ticket out of El Paso. We've talked about this for several months now, planning for well over a year. We are limited by our daily flight capacity. Looking at last week, we had about 500 to 600 available seats per day on flights out of El Paso. Those are not all destinations where they're traveling to, so it's even less than that. Our bus transportations have been full for months, so it's hard to get that same day. When you look at having a large volume of people and you're going to have to start sheltering, you have to look at how many can you truly hold, what's your true capacity, and with that will come travel. And so that's when the travel operation would open up.
So in the expectation about the numbers really are increasing and people are leaving El Paso. And it's better than expected, the situation currently?
The numbers we're seeing today, yes, we've seen the people who were in downtown El Paso yesterday. We saw them turn themselves in for processing. We see that CBP numbers are higher today, higher than they have been. There was a lot of apprehensions yesterday. A lot of it was due to the same population walking down the street and starting the process. So we see those high numbers. We haven't seen the output of that. We haven't seen what that's going to transpire to. So we have those numbers, and we know there's 6,000 to 7,000 in custody with CBP right now. And then it's those numbers coupled with what's the true number in Juarez, so that way we can see how they pass through. And so that, over the next few days, will show us what we truly have. Other than that, it's just guesstimations.
Shelby Cap, KTSM. I wanted to ask about what the process is actually going to be at the middle schools. I mean, are you guys going to be helping them get to the transportation hubs? I mean, what's actually going to happen once they are here? And then you were mentioning about, D'Agostino was mentioning about the Welcome Center. I mean, are they going to need to go there to get help, or what's going to happen, I mean, with the flow?
Thank you, good questions. So yes, the school will do processing right here. So as we intake them, we will bring them on in, they'll get their processing, they'll get their, and as we talked about it's a lot of operations. We want to make sure that their needs are met when they first get here. Make sure they have basics such as water, cell phone service, some Wi-Fi is what we're providing for them so that they can actually connect. Those who have, they can do the processing on their own, and it's just about helping them get transportation to the bus depot or to the airport. Those that don't goes into further processing, so that the social workers out here will actually be interacting with them, with everyone who comes to the facility, and that's what will determine what type of transportation is needed and what's the next part of evolution.
You know, I think it also has a lot to determine whether they're single males, their families, single females, and what that is how we will determine, and whether they're sponsored, non-sponsored, or they're reuniting with family members. So that's what we talk about when we talk about the unknown. The unknown is we don't have a manifesto who's coming in, but we're prepared to work with everybody, and that's why we have all our facilities ready to go based on what we see when we see it.
Liana Golden with KBox 14 and CBS 4. So first question for you, Mayor Leeser, is that as you mentioned yesterday, hundreds of people were processed. This facility is for processing. So how are you getting the message out to those who got their papers yesterday and may have spent the night on the streets rather than when they can be here? How are you messaging to people that they can come here?
Well, if you saw when they were out on the street, they gave them flyers. They gave stuff so they would understand what's going on and how it was going to work. And they all saw it, read it, and basically got into a line. And then we worked with the Border Patrol, we worked through the county, we'll work with NGOs, we'll work with everybody. It's a team to make sure that everybody follows a step. We all have different responsibilities, but at the end of the day, you know, we know that we're gonna have people ending up here at the school, and we'll make sure that they're processed and come into the school, and if the Border Patrol needs processing centers, we're ready, which is the hospitality center or the school. Both places will be doing processing. And that's what they will be prepared for, and that's what they'll be doing. Like I think Chief D'Agostino said a minute ago, there's 6,100 at Border Patrol today, and they'll need assistance processing. They'll need assistance helping them move forward, and that's why we've been prepared and ready to do.
So you're saying those 6,100 could end up coming here, or?
Oh, we don't know where. Again, there's so many partners, and we'll use the partners, and some will be going directly without coming to us. So it's basically amongst all the partnerships that we'll continue to work together. What's that?
It's the process that goes to the NGOs.
But again, but it is a process through the NGOs. It goes. There's so many of us that will continue to make sure that the process continues to be efficient, and that's one of the things that we got to make sure we decompress the system, because we not sure what's going to happen after tomorrow.
Hi, Mayor. My name is Katie Simpson. I'm with CBC News Canada. Would you describe this moment as a crisis, and as a mayor, what is it like to lead a community through this moment?
You know, that's really a good question, because you see it every time you look at the news. They all call it a crisis, but it's really a system that we've been working through. It's something that we've been helping asylum seekers go through. In my opinion, it's something that you can no longer work with, something that you can't handle, and that's not where we're at today. I think that they call it the crisis at the border, but I think that the city of El Paso has done a really good job to prevent that and be prepared and be ready.
Marianne Martinez, New York Post. I wanted to follow up with something you mentioned about the effort that happened yesterday at the CBP. What was the city's role in, if any, in CBP going down there, giving flyers, giving an opportunity for people to turn themselves in for processing versus just picking them up and arresting them? And my second question is about busing. I know in the past New York has been a destination and possibly a destination if the city has to bus again. Might the city reconsider busing to New York, given that Mayor Adams is saying he's going to be sending migrants from New York to upstate New York, and that's not the destination many of these migrants want to go to? In the past, the city said they want to send migrants where they want to go to.
And, you know, and I'm very thankful for Mayor Adams to coming down here and learning and understanding the process. And he came and spent a couple days with us, and we showed him our processing centers and everything we're doing. And he got the opportunity to talk to a lot of the migrants. And he asked them, he asked him, he says, where do you want to go? And they said, New York. And he said, why would you want to go to New York? And they said, because we saw it on TV. And we feel that's somewhere that we want to make alive. There's an opportunity for us. It's a big, you know, opportunity to be able to feed our family, be able to start our journey here. This is where they do want to go, and he talked to them, and I was standing next to him when he talked to them. And you're right, we will help them get to their journey. We will help them, and whether they say New York, they say Chicago, they say LA, a lot of them they want to go to big markets. They want to go to markets where they have an opportunity to raise their family. They want an opportunity where they have the opportunity to work. And that's why they want to go there. It's not because we want them to go there. It's not because someone's pushed them there. It's because they are seeing the opportunities, and they want to live that American dream and be able to go through the legal process and work there.
But Mayor, you can answer you have a question. I had a first question about ICE and what role the city may have played in.
Okay, we actually do not administer the federal government's job, and that's nothing. As you see, our police departments out there to really make sure to protect the community. But all the Customs and Border Patrol exercises and everything they do goes through the federal government. And do they inform the city what's going on? Absolutely. They let us know what they're going to do and what's going to happen. But again, that's not the city administering or doing that. It's us supporting them, and we'll continue to support them to make sure we work as a team, and we have been working as a team.
Mayor. Daniela Pato with Spectrum News. Mine is kind of a follow-up to what you just addressed. So can you confirm if the city requested for Border Patrol to step in and send these flyers? Did you guys ask for help in that way?
Well, we've been requesting to make sure that we continue to have the support, and the Border Patrol has the support they need to make sure that our borders continue to be safe. And do we talk to the Secretary? Do we talk to FEMA? We talk to whoever we can to make sure we have the proper men and women to help us do the job that they're trained to do and what they do. Absolutely. We do request always assistance because we can't do the job of the federal government, and we need enough men and women to be able to help us do their job. And our job is to make sure we help them have the security and our community. Our number one priority is the citizens of El Paso, and make sure the citizens of El Paso continue to know that there are and that will always continue to be our number one priority.
What's your response to that being seen as a fear tactic? Those flyers that were issued?
Well, I don't see it that way, so I'm not quite sure what you're saying, so I couldn't answer that because I would, when you're trying to help somebody and you're working with somebody and doing good things for people, it'd be a statement that I hadn't heard, and I'm not sure why we would hear that statement when we're working with people and trying to make sure people are treated properly. And one thing that we do in El Paso, and I'm very proud of, that we treat people the way we want to be treated, and we've yet to be disappointed.
Hi, Mayor. Salome Ramirez with Voice of America. I want to be a clarification on when you refer to as processing. When migrants come here, do they need to be processed before by CBP, or will they be able to be processed here even if they don't have a notice to appear yet?
So, yeah, terminology. They have to be processed before they can come here. And so once they're processed, when they come in, and I think I said social workers earlier, and the proper term is caseworkers. So the caseworkers will actually be processing them into this facility. And that processing is trying to connect them with their family ones, their sponsors, whoever it is who's going to help them with transportation so they can make those arrangements.
So no CBP presence?
No CBP presence.
Chief, just to follow up to that, just the extra resources that were actually brought in by the federal government, has the city of El Paso actually, put use, or what is, how have they helped the city?
So those extra resources, I believe, were arriving today. Some of them came in already, but they're here to help CBP. They're here to help the administrative side of the house. So they're not going to actually be on the border doing border security, border checks. They're not going to be processing people crossing in. They're going to be doing the logistics part of the aspect. So we personally have not seen it, but we do know they have been arriving.
Priscilla with El Paso Matters. I have two questions. The first one is about the timing of opening the shelter. So back in January when this one opened, ended up closing about 2 weeks afterward because of low vacancies, and this was after there were hundreds of thousands of people sleeping on the streets in December. Now this time around, there's been about 2 weeks now that we've seen reports of people sleeping on the streets. So I guess why wasn't this shelter able to open earlier?
So to start off there, what we've seen what we saw in December, what we've seen over the past few weeks, is the unprocessed, the ones who've gone around the checkpoints. They didn't follow the process to get in. So we cannot legally shelter them. And so that's why you've seen them in the street. Why have we not opened this facility yet? Because it's not ready. The NGOs are currently handling the capacity with those that have been processed, those that are following the legal path. They're handling that capacity along with the County of El Paso. So the County of El Paso has their processing center, and they're helping arrange travel for them, whether it's out of El Paso directly or providing charters down to Houston so they can get a flight out of the Houston airports. And so that's why we haven't opened.
Stephanie Bayo with ABC7 KBA here in El Paso. Just wondering, is any city staff going to be used to run this shelter, or is it only going to be Red Cross?
So Red Cross is going to help with the shelter management of this facility, but we will have organizations inside to help with that processing, that connectivity. They'll be the caseworkers actually working with them to arrange their travels to their final destination.
K-Fox and CBS4. So when the shelter does open, what is the security going to be like?
Security. Security. Yes, so part of our agreement that we have worked out with the El Paso Independent School District is that we maintain security on campus ourselves. So what we're paying for here as far as a lease is the utilities, and then we're making sure we have that security aspect covered. So there'll be 8 security on site 24 hours a day as long as we're open. And there'll also be additional roving police teams, so they'll do additional patrols on a daily basis just to make sure the area.
Rather than using local police, did the city consider hiring a third-party contractor for the outside security?
Well, yes, we did. So we do have contractors that are going to be providing that service.
So it won't be any local police?
No, they'll be doing the patrols, as I said, but we'll have security guards that we're hiring, third-party vendors who we're contracting with so they can provide the security here. And then El Paso Police will be doing the extra patrols.
The 8 people you mentioned are outside contractors?
That's correct.
So now that this, by the way, when is this expected to be open? Are you thinking tonight, tomorrow? Do we have a time yet?
It's open now.
When we see the demand. So it's open, but we don't have anybody here.
Okay, follow-up question to that. So once it is open, you're hoping that the people who are processed will be able to come here if they so choose. Those people who choose to stay on the streets, it's likely they don't have their documents. So how will you all be enforcing that no camping ordinance that you mentioned last week?
So the no camping ordinance is a state law. And so it's actually the state troopers who enforce that part of the law. What we're doing is we're trying to maintain the health and safety of the entire community, whether it's the individual who's passing through our community or our residents. And so when we see a presence in the downtown area, when we see all the portable bathrooms, the hand wash stations, when we see law enforcement, state law enforcement, we see the roving teams, environmental services going through cleaning multiple times a day, that's done for health and safety of all involved.
In terms of asking people to leave if they're sleeping there, do you have anyone enforcing that? As you did in the past, we saw that in December, January, making people break down their encampments. Will we be seeing that
So
again?
that's what we do, is we have them break them down, pick up their belongings. The belongings they don't pick up, we're actually, as we're doing our daily cleanups, they were cleaning it. As we know today, it's not an issue, the numbers are very low. But that's what we mean by enforcement, is making sure that we tear it down so these encampments don't grow larger and larger.
Have you received?
You know, let me kind of go through that again, because we're going in a circle here. When we're talking about the enforcement of the no camping, we wanted to make sure that everything was prepared before the enforcement was done by DPS or anyone, because it didn't make sense to move them from one side of the street to the other. We needed to make sure the shelters were prepared, that they had gone through all the processing, and then now it can happen. And you saw that, now it's happening. We're ready, this is open right now, and the other school that, Moorhead, which is on the other side of town, is ready to open once the capacity here fills. The Civic Center would be ready within 24 to 48 hours if needed, but we're prepared. Now we're prepared to make sure that everybody and everything is done the way it needs to be done. But it didn't make sense to move people from one side of the street to the other, so we needed to make sure it was prepared. But yet, we were there twice a day to make sure we cleaned up the streets and make sure that there was no people weren't cross-contaminating and making each other sick. That was really something important for us, for, like the chief said, to our visitors, but also the community of El Paso, which was down there, really giving them food, giving them clothing, because we have the kindest community you'll ever find.
Has the city received any more guidance about the I-862 forms, if migrants who have those will now be allowed inside of the city shelters?
No, we have not received any more guidance. We're waiting for further information to see if we can actually serve that population.
Okay. So sorry, I wanted to do just a follow-up about the question that was around there. About conversations, I know it's a federal government, but are there conversations with CBP, with the federal government, to take in consideration the situation in El Paso, to do more processing, to improve, for example, the app that is like the backlog that is created in Ciudad Juárez? For example, there are thousands of people there trying to ask for an appointment on an app that is not working properly. Are conversations regarding that? Because if they don't get an appointment, they are saying they are going to cross illegally, and that is going to impact the city. So my question would be, are there conversations about this?
Sure, thank you. Jorge Rodriguez, I'm the Chief of Office of Emergency Management. That is a question for the federal government.
But the city is having talked with them, explaining the
Yes.
situation?
Of course, those conversations are part of the information that they provide us. I know they have increased processing from, I think they're doing 750 to 1,000. So they are making those incremental. The time frame for the CBP app has also increased. So we were seeing improvement, but I would defer to the feds.
For the migrants who are receiving error message on the app, what's the support team?
We will have to defer to CBP for that.
We're gonna get both, if I can, real quick. Sir?
Are you in touch with the governor?
Hold on.
Sir,
Hold
can
on,
you
hold
wait
on.
till your turn, please?
So we're gonna take two more questions in English, and then we're gonna switch over to Spanish and take a few more questions in Spanish. So if we can take the phone.
Thomas Harms, Radio France Internationale. Are you in touch with the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, and the authorities of Texas, or you are handling it with the federal government and only the city of El Paso? Because we see the governor is really a lot talking about border. So what's happening?
We are in constant communication with both our local partners, our state partners, and our federal partners. So we talk through the Office of Emergency Management for the state of Texas, the Texas Division of Emergency Management. We have regular conversations. All of our STAR requests of the Operations Center actually go through them. And so those go up for processing. So when we ask for additional law enforcement support, which we've received, that's how we do it. We go in through the governor's office and through their Office of Emergency Management on up. And so we've asked for that. We've asked for support for shelter. We've asked for support and transportation if needed. So transportation's on standby. We have not heard back on the shelter support at this.
One more question in English.
She hasn't had.
This is a follow-up, it's a very short
Yes, but
question.
you've already had an opportunity. Let's give her an opportunity. Thank you.
We're gonna benefit ABC7 here in El Paso. Quick question here is, how are we paying for the extra police patrols? And is that something we're getting reimbursed by, or who's gonna?
Well, the FEMA money, the upfront money, the money that we've been getting from the federal government, the system to continue to execute the laws of the federal government. So again, but our police department is here really to support and back up. They do not do immigration laws. They don't do any federal laws. They're here to support all the Border Patrol and federal and ICE and everyone that's here. They're here to support and work with them. That's something that's really important that everyone understand, that El Paso PD does not enforce immigration laws.
We can switch over to Spanish?
Quería preguntar la capacidad que tienen de acogida los dos nuevos centros y cuál es la capacidad actual de acogida en todo el Paso.
Porque eso es como la cosa que es muy importante de saber. Tenemos que saber cuántas familias tenemos que saber cuántos no tienen familia, cuántos son hombres y todo eso para poder, dónde lo vamos a poner y cómo lo vamos a poder separar. Si todo lo que estamos viendo por esta escuela, la otra escuela que estamos abriendo ahorita y el Civic Center, estamos viendo como 4,000, 4,500, algo así, pero todo se depende de los números y cuando unos salen, quién son que salió para que pueda abrir otra cama. No, los tres que tenemos nosotros listos para abrir. Este está listo para abrir y ya está abierto. La otra escuela en el otro lado de la ciudad ya está lista, está abierta, pero todavía no lo necesitamos usar. Y el Civic Center, que necesitamos abrir, ya está listo y con todos estos juntos, eso es el número.
¿Otra pregunta?
una pregunta, un follow-up. Hablaron antes de la frontera, que está cerrada mañana y pasado. O sea, no lo entendía bien.
No, la cosa que está diciendo, la frontera está cerrada ahora, estaba cerrada ayer y va a continuar a estar cerrada mañana. Nomás porque se está acabando el título 42, no dice que estamos abriendo la frontera. Todavía va a estar cerrada y van a continuar con el título 8. El título 8 es una cosa un poquito diferente que el 42, pero todavía, como digo, no estaba abierto y no se va a abrir.
Y otra pregunta, con la campaña electoral aprovechándose, ¿está usted pensando que su community va a ser mucho, bueno, o sea, el diálogo con Washington va a ser menos y menos constructivo?
La elección que va a pasar, es lo que está...
My question was whether you think that actually the dialogue will be less constructive because of the election campaign.
Okay.
I was asking whether you think that the dialogue with Washington will become less and less constructive because of the election campaign coming closer.
Well, that should never have anything to do with what we're doing. We need to make sure that we do the right thing, continue because these are human lives. Estas son vidas que tenemos que tratar como nosotros queremos que nos tratan a nosotros y porque va a ser una elección y eso no debe cambiar nada. Lo que tenemos que hacer es la cosa propia y la cosa que está correcta para todos.
Última pregunta. Esta es la última pregunta en español.
Alcalde, la expectativa de problemas en la frontera pues, era muy grande. Sin embargo, ahora hicimos un recorrido tanto por el bordo como por el centro y no hay tantos migrantes. ¿A qué se debe? ¿Cuál es su expectativa de qué va a ocurrir mañana?
La cosa es que ya están entrando y están trabajando con el Border Patrol y están haciendo los papeles. Y es la cosa que cuando fui a Juárez ahora, y vimos que no estaban tantos como estaba la semana que entra y porque ya entraron y hablamos con el alcalde de Juárez y hablamos con unas personas ahí y nos dijeron que ya están entrando, pero todavía están unos esperando. Ellos me dijeron que el número que ellos piensan va a ser como 5,000, es posible hasta 10,000 el máximo y no lo vimos, eso no lo vimos, pero la cosa es que no sabemos qué va a pasar el día siguiente y qué viene atrás de eso y por eso tenemos que continuar a estar preparados, porque ya sabemos que es poquito lento ahorita, pero sí sabemos que no, esto va a continuar y no sabemos cuándo se va a acabar. Y es la cosa que tenemos el problema muy grande, porque la ley no se ha cambiado y si no lo cambian, esto no se va a parar.
¿Una más aquí?
Alcalde, buenas tardes, Stephanie de Univisión. Una pregunta es, ¿cuántos oficiales van a estar ayudándonos en lo que se dice esta crisis migratoria y quiénes van a traer a los migrantes a este albergue? ¿Será la ciudad o los federales los que les van a ayudar?
La cosa es que todos estamos trabajando juntos y todos tenemos algo que hacer cuando estamos haciendo eso. El gobierno federal, el CBP, el county, los NGOs, todos estamos trabajando juntos y se depende dónde los manda el CBP y cuando regresan aquí para ayudarles a dar boletos, a ellas familia y todo eso. Eso se depende y es la cosa que digo que estamos preparando para lo que no sabemos y no sabiendo. Ahorita no sabemos quién va a venir mañana o el día siguiente.
Muchas gracias a todos. Thank you everybody for being here. We're going to proceed with the tour of the facility. The tour is going to be led by Laura Cruz Acosta and staff from the Office of Emergency Management. Thank you everybody for helping us get the message out.
Here. Pedro, let me see if I can do it live. What do you think? Hi, Stephanie.
Sorry, I know you're busy.
I'm actually live. What's up? Yeah.
I
can ask. He had said that he was probably not going to be able to, but let me ask again. Okay, hold on. No, no, wait. Yeah, let me ask. Can you ask her real quick? Go live, dude.
Okay, so this is a big room, so we're gonna divide it into groups. The group is gonna go on this side, we're gonna go in that direction. The group that's on this side, we're gonna go in that direction, and then we'll flip flop. So you will get to see
Soraya.
the entire space, alright? So we're
Thank
gonna
you, Soraya.
divide down the middle. Chief Zane is going to lead you on that side of the building, and I'm gonna lead you on this side of the building. Any questions? So we'll come back and we'll meet here. I'll help answer any additional questions that y'all might have, along with Enrique Dueñas.
Right, obviously you guys are in the cafeteria, so this will be where all the feeding will be going on. Cafeteria's right there.
Laura. ¿Está en vivo, eh? Está en vivo.
Okay, I'm gonna pause here real quick. Okay, so those of you who are here with me, what we're going to be walking through right now is actually the processing space. So the individuals will come into this hallway and they will be processed in these rooms right now. Where we started from was obviously the cafeteria, and that is where we'll be providing meals to the migrants as well. So, go ahead and follow. Can you explain again what you mean by processing? So yes, what I mean by processing is simply that we are going to be capturing the names, the number of individuals in the family. So for example, if you're a mom and a dad and how many children are with you, just so we can keep track of how many folks we have in this space and who needs to travel together. Oftentimes we have a collection of families that run together and they want to stay together. So we want to be able to make sure that we keep them together according to what they want. Okay, so again, you see in these rooms, you can look, and I'll wait here for you all. You can run into there, and I'll wait here for y'all.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yes, we are ready to accept anybody, but we don't have any. Yeah, probably it depends on if they're processed. All right, we're going to keep going. The capacity, it really depends, but it's about 1,000 folks.
1,000 people?
Yes.
And will we separate women and
Yeah. Yes, and you'll see this space. So that room is for processing. Yeah, processing, so they'll come in through here, and then we'll bring them into the processing space. Okay, so this is one of the larger spaces. We'll be able to provide sleeping quarters for the individuals to be able to sleep here, obviously comfortably, and then be able, again, as I mentioned to you, the processing room, there's restrooms in this space across the hallway, and then, of course, the eating quarters. So y'all are welcome to take video B-roll of this space if you want to. In this space, I don't know exactly how many people. I know that in the entire campus, there's about 1,000 folks that we could comfortably fit in here. I'll give you all a moment in here. Laura Cruz Acosta, I'll let you are see if you see Migrant in CDS.
So it has actually a plan.
You had a dry run. Yeah.
What's your latest in terms of CDP and
Federal agencies, state agencies, they're all reporting. What the true number is, we don't know. We've heard a lot of right now it's hard to tell. It's the last days of Title II. They're trying to keep it back, but that's all we have.
we should take some of this from Instagram.
G14 is for the Border Patrol.
Like just stories.
This is
Just do like a quick one too.
that we're seeing in this final day.
Maybe do a story on it.
Is he being too optimistic?
Declaration of emergency that the mayor issued. And so for that reason, we're able to use this facility. Would not be able to open up the shelter. It was temporary.
What he means is, it's not at all. People do cross it legally, but it's still a closed border. So we're just gonna follow the Paso Mayor Oscar Leeser.
So if you have a passport, you pass.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, we were thinking we cannot cross the border tomorrow.
No, it's absolutely,
Yeah. How do you spell your name, sorry?
All right, guys. Okay, let's go ahead and keep going forward. We're going to go back onto the other side of the building.
travel where they want to travel. So we have to connect them there. That's the important part. When I talk about transportation, people want to do that. When I'm talking about transportation, we can get them there and they can get there more cheaper flights to the final destination. That's our primary focus. It just depends on what the population brings.
Okay, so then we'll be going to the.
Okay, so just in case y'all didn't capture, one of the things that the mayor had mentioned, one of the things that Chief Agostino had mentioned, is that that the facility is closed off, so nobody can come in and nobody can come out, and so we have our security spaces in here. So residents in this area will not be able to come onto the campus, and the individuals who are staying here will not be able to leave the campus, just so you know, until they get their transportation organized, and then we can transport them if they have transportation by flight, if they have transportation by bus, we'll get them to their transportation services and put them in.
So would they go from here to the Welcome Center and then they go, or is that kind of how?
It could be the option, it could also be from here to the Greyhound station or from here to the airport, either one of those scenarios.
So you said the center was 24/7?
So yes, it's 24/7.
So this will be like city buses taking them? If they
It could be city buses, it could be also the Greyhound station, the smaller buses of any kind. It really depends on how they get set up. In some cases, we've had taxis or Ubers and that sort of stuff. Okay, so the idea is that they stay for how long? Typically, they stay anywhere from 24 to 48 hours. So we're gonna go to the other side of the space. These are smaller spaces.
The mayor said they could stay up to 72 hours, right?
Yeah, it really depends on their need. We're not necessarily, we're temporary, but we're not necessarily going to be kicking you out almost immediately. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Evan.
Thank you.
So down this hallway, and y'all are welcome to go into any of the rooms in here. Down this hallway, we have the smaller rooms. There are some, these are for, primarily for smaller family units that are gonna be staying in this space. So you can travel down any of the rooms. Y'all pretty much look the same. Yeah.
So is it gonna try to be separated like single adults?
Yeah, it could be that way. It really depends on what we
I gotcha. Good, how are you? Got you live here, so I'm actually doing this live.
Oh, you're doing it live?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
You're good, don't worry about it. It is what it is. Excuse me, guys. Híjole. Es en vivo. Está en vivo.
Yeah, likely it really depends on what we receive. How we're gonna solve the studies. The air?
Yeah.
Dale.
classroom, this space is still being finalized. But we are ready to proceed. The men's center, okay. I was like, oh, convention center? Yeah, because it used to, the address used to be the same. Got it. Okay, on standby, right? Yeah, it's on standby, should we need it. It can be ready in how many hours? Typically about 24 to 48 hours. I'm maybe more than that, but yeah. Over there, yes, but we want to make sure that these are fully used first. So together was it 4,000? Yes. All right. Okay, we're gonna head back. Tom?
I think there's one person.
Oh, you're in here.
That's cool. You're doing do a story?
Did a couple.
I'll do it. Nah. With Laura. We'll do it. Record her like what she's doing.
Okay, we're gonna go over here. Get this one real quick.
No, I sent them over to you.
Okay, but Endeavors isn't this time. Not this far. Sure, sure.
Okay.
Right there, dude. Get her somebody right there.
So as I understood it, this is like you want to be prepared for other eventualities, like that will be prepared that like people will not like people.
Exactly. We experienced this back in December where the NGOs and nonprofit organizations saw a large number of people on the streets. So in order to be able to protect them, brought them into their facilities, but they had their capacity. In order to help the NGOs and nonprofit organizations, we brought them in and opened up these facilities. We opened up in December, we opened up a convention center and we opened up this school and as well as we prepared for Hector School. This time around, we really don't know what's coming. We've been getting intel that large number of folks are coming into the United States in order to be able to support our nonprofit organizations, our NGOs. We opened up these schools in preparation for that because we know that there will be support.
That's what what you guys want to leave?
Oh, yeah. No, no, it's not anywhere near. We've been dealing with this since 2016, it's only just got this level of attention. Bye-bye. Thank you. Gracias, Laura. Exactly. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Yeah?
Thank y'all. Have a good one. Y'all stay safe.
Look, ¿quieres acabar más para decir for more information on the Migrant Center? Go. Ready? Go ahead, go right now. Go, dale.
Thank you, everybody who joined us online for joining us. For those of you who wish to get more information in terms of the migrant situation, we encourage you all to join us online at elpasotexas.gov. If you click on the migrant button on the website, you'll be able to find out information, including information on donations. We are encouraging very strongly to the community to please support the local NGOs, be able to provide them some support because they need it as well. The city is not accepting donations directly. We ask that if you do want to donate, please donate to the NGOs. And again, on that website at elpasotexas.gov,